Hi guys, Victor from Tech Heads here. Before we get started today, I would like to announce once again that our Patreon is officially live, but this time with some extra features. When you sign up, you officially become a producer of the show. This means that you will get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content such as our extensive show notes. On top of this, you will also have access to the episodes 4 days earlier than everybody else. If this sounds good to you, feel free to check it out at patreon.com/techheads.
4,
Now on with the
3,
show.
2, 1.
So, here we go.
How you all feel tonight?
Welcome back to Tech Heads, everybody. How are we doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Oh, we're chilling.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you for joining us for another episode. It is episode 32, according to my very, very advanced documentation. So episode 32, that's good to know. We hope you're all being safe and doing well and, all that stuff as we entered the holidays. Lots of traveling, I'm sure, for everybody. So be safe, all that stuff, but also have fun seeing everybody. Also, thank you for being patient as we deliver these episodes on like a not so regularly scheduled program that we like to follow. So, so both of us are doing traveling, some of us more than others. Anna's like a jet setter here. She's also graduating in a week. She just started a new job, et cetera, et cetera. And speaking of which, in case you didn't catch last episode, I'll just put it that way. In case you didn't catch last episode, Anna and I officially went from ex-coworkers to coworkers. So,
I know. We can't seem to stay away from each other. That's funny.
I guess not.
Yeah, that's how it worked out, huh? It was very good. So far it's gone really well. So yeah,
that's good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty confident you would like it.
Yeah, no, I think, like you said, like you had shared great things about the culture of the company, and that was definitely I think, a very appealing, trait, because it's not just about being picky, I feel like I graduated from, graduating in a few days from this degree, classes are officially over. I definitely wanted to start over, with a new place, but it had to be the right fit. Otherwise, I wouldn't have, it wouldn't have been the right opportunity for me to take. But luckily, so far, it really does seem like it was the right decision. So, yeah, I'm excited for next
3 days
year.
in, though.
Yeah, right.
Plenty of more to go. And it was funny, too, because the day you started was like basically the thick of the Amazon Web Services outage.
Right. Yeah. So I did a little bit more digging because I started, like in the middle of the week. And yeah, it was probably the day after that big outage happened. And from what I saw, like on a bunch of articles, that I came across when I was prepping the notes for today, I saw that the outage lasted like a good part of the workday, like, started around 9, 10 a.m. And like, I think East Coast time, and went until 6, 7 p.m. So, I think there was even someone that is part of, this team that I just joined, that said that he has a contact at Amazon, and they just gave, people the day off because there wasn't much to do until that problem got resolved. So yeah, it was interesting though, because I guess to elaborate a little more on the issue, from one article that I saw yesterday, from Data Center Dynamics, apparently the root cause was devices that were receiving more traffic than they were able to process, which was leading to elevated latency and packet loss for traffic traversing them. And they don't know now if that was an intentional attack, like if it was a cyber attack on Amazon servers. So that was very interesting. But then again, these things unfortunately happen now, and it's yet to be determined. So I'm gonna make notes to see if I can follow up on this because I'm curious now to see if Amazon is gonna disclose whether it was nefarious or not.
Maybe it's the same people behind the Twitch hack.
Oh, wait, when?
Remember?
Recently?
No, it was the old one that we covered a while ago.
Oh, okay, right, that one.
Yeah, that one was crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So that was the start of my week. Yeah, first day in, and I felt bad for my poor manager. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You have to put up with a noob now. You're trying to put out fires left and right." But he was very gracious, and my first day was, pretty. It was great, honestly. So, kudos to everybody in the team that was, that had to like deal with this issue because apparently some people had to be online for like hours on and hours, so it was hectic, but that's what
Well,
happens when you're a developer.
and that, yeah, can't escape it. And well, shout out to the company. If you want to
Yeah.
find out where, just go to our profile websites, I guess, because it's not exactly private, but little incentive for you guys to give us some traffic on our websites.
Yeah.
Also, you can go to our LinkedIn, but preferably hit up our websites, give us that traffic and everything. So we need that link juice.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, this was a reminder from because I think last episode you were supposed to do this. You were going to shout somebody out.
Oh, right. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Oh my God. Good thing you took note of that. Okay, it's so funny. I even talked to my buddy, this person that I wanted to give a shout out to. His name is Efren. We connected at a previous job, and he's an aspiring developer, like he's currently like in a spot where he's trying out a couple of like projects. He was even we were talking yesterday, just like last night we were FaceTiming for the longest time because he was showing me a game that he built with Unity. And I had heard of it. I have never used it, but yeah, he was showing me a game that he built, following a tutorial. And I told him, I was like, look, I'll help you. I'll teach you what I can and what I know because it seems like you're very interested. And he does have, a development background, but right now his role isn't really, programming. And it seems like he's very eager to find, like that opportunity to get into the development world. But he came across our podcast and he said that he loved it. So I wanted to give him a proper shout out. So
Wow, I'll
thanks for
shout him out too.
supporting us, Efren.
Nice. Thank you for listening. And yeah, it's a long, strange trip with
Right.
getting into this stuff, but it's fun. Sometimes it's not, but for the most part, it's really fun. And
Yeah.
I hope the show can help out a little bit and at least give you more of the fun part when you're stressed. So
There
thank
you
you
go.
for checking our show out.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, well, I guess moving on to, helping others be a little more educated and get into all this whole coding stuff. We're doing an episode on something really important that is inescapable in all languages for sure, but specifically we're talking about JavaScript functions. And these principles can basically be applied to like any other language, but we're just honing in on JavaScript today just for, simplicity and popularity, and it's my favorite. Maybe. Oh, actually, I don't know if it's my favorite. I don't know. It might be my favorite.
What, your favorite language?
Yeah, I've never thought about that. I guess I really do love Python, but
Yeah, Python is
know.
just so clean. Oh,
that's the thing. I think it's
Yeah.
like looking at Python, I'm like, oh, that's nice. But then
Right.
JavaScript, I'm like, you're cute too, but
I know it's a tough one. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would say that Python is also like my number one, but it's hard to pick. It
yeah.
really is.
Like sometimes when I just open up, because I mean, day to day for work, I work in JavaScript. So whenever I open it up, I'm like, don't look at me like that, JavaScript. I don't like that if something's not working. But
Yep.
yeah, I think I guess I do like JavaScript at the end of the day a little more because I just use it way more. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
something to
just
think
wrapped
about.
up. I wrapped up a project with React, and it was good. I mean, it definitely, felt like kind of the boot camp days, because we were doing a lot of JavaScript and like mainly web work, So it's nice when things don't seem like it's like you're not looking at a screen, it's Greek. Obviously, by now, I feel like given the number of like programming languages that I've at least had to like do something, with, then it shouldn't look like Greek. It's just like like a few differences in the syntax. I was even told that for work, I'm gonna be. I think our primary language right now is C sharp.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to. It seems that I was told that it's pretty close to C++. So I think I'm gonna have to take a course on that, and get a bit more familiar since that's gonna be the language that we're gonna be going with. But I'm fine with it. I mean, I've used C++ plenty throughout this whole degree. I mean, that was like the number one language that we used.
Mm-hmm.
So
Shouldn't be too hard of a transition at all for you.
yeah, hope not.
I mean, especially for you, you're gonna just be like, "Oh, I get that."
Oh, I wish. Sometimes I feel like I overcomplicate code, and I'm like, no, it was the simplest thing ever. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, still working on that, mentality shift to like how to really keep things simple, stupid. The,
Yep,
good old KISS. But yeah, it's I'm sure it will come to me.
no doubt. Okay, so let's get into JavaScript functions. I'm just going to call them functions. I'm not going to say JavaScript functions every single time, but
Hmm.
just so you guys know, we're talking about JavaScript. Um, so yeah, as far as JavaScript goes, functions are to me where the magic kind of happens, and the part where I got most excited when I was learning it. And formally defined, a function is a block of code that can be assigned a name and invoked, aka used, by calling it by its name. So let's say you're 5 years old and you didn't catch that. Functions are just bits of code you can reuse. And this is just insanely convenient because we developers find ourselves wanting to perform similar tasks in many places of our JavaScript files, and functions just allow us to do that very easily. So, and luckily there's built-in functions to go around, such as alert, prompt, what's another one? Confirm.
Log,
That one too.
console.log.
Console.log. These are all like built-in functions that we didn't have to think about and waste brain power on, basically. But we also have the ability to make our own if it isn't built in and it doesn't exist. Or
Right.
maybe you Googled, the function and nobody's made it yet, or somebody made it really bad. Maybe you can make it even better and make it run faster. So before we look at our first example of a function, let's just talk about declaration really quick. So to actually declare a function, we got to start with the function keyword. And we can name it something. So like after there, it's hard to like explain with audio. So like there's the word function literally before the keyword. So don't get confused about this part. But yeah, so there's the word function, which is just, declaring that this is about to be a function.
Right.
And then after that, we can name it whatever we want. Usually it has to be really cool and really descriptive. So great function names are short and sweet. And it's usually best to start them out with some sort of verb. So like get or calc, create, check, set. Yeah, any of those.
Yeah.
It, like just such a sweet short word, but it tells you like all it needs to. And on top of that, we have to
Exactly.
follow a nice naming convention. So there is one that stands out as the go-to for most developers. And Anna, you're going to have to tell me from this list which is the one I'm referring to, and then which of these isn't even a real naming convention at all. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I think you'll get it once I start naming them. So after I list them all, just have the one that I'm talking about, the one that we should all use because it's just the best one, and then the one that is not real.
Okay.
Okay. So there's the Fibonacci case, there's Pascal case, there's underscores, there's camel case, and there's kebab case.
I would say camel case is the
Camel
one to
case,
use.
yes, absolutely. You should all use it. I mean, not for everything. It's not for every language, but specifically for functions, it's just the best naming convention. Not too sure why. It's just traditional, so just do it. And which one of those was fake?
The kebab case.
No, you got it wrong.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Kebab
It's well,
kebab
I
case is
was like,
real.
no way. I thought
Yeah,
I was like that was genius. But I mean, I was gonna say I was in between the kebab and the Fibonacci because I've never heard of the Fibonacci case.
that's the
So
fake one. I came up with that.
kebab case, what is that?
It's the one with the dashes in between each word.
Makes sense. Okay, it looks like
Yeah.
a kebab.
And then camel case,
Okay.
each capital. Oh, so you guys don't know, probably. Maybe you do. So camel case is when a name contains multiple words where the first word isn't capitalized in the first letter, and then the rest of the words after it are capitalized. If that makes sense.
Right.
So like each hump is like a camel. That's why it's called camel case. But they're all joined together without spaces, and you've probably seen it before. And oh, shameless plug. If you check out our Patreon, you can see all the notes that we're referring to, and you can see all the functions and the naming conventions, like everything you want to see. You can see it in our show notes if you go to our Patreon. So that's something to think about. Yeah. So the Fibonacci case, I came up with that just because there's the Pascal case, which I thought of, like the mathematician Pascal, and then I also thought of the other mathematician Fibonacci. So I was like, oh, that's perfect.
Right.
That could be real.
That was clever. Yeah, I definitely knew that Fibonacci was one, but I didn't know that kebab was one.
Yep.
No, that's good to know. I mean, I think the most common that I have seen, throughout the years was camel case and an underscore. I
Hmm.
don't know, like I haven't seen a lot of code that uses, the kebab case, like the dashes in the name of the
Yeah.
function. But I personally prefer camel case for sure. So
Yeah, you guys should too.
it makes it easier to read, I think,
Hmm.
so you don't have like a long word with like dashes in between. Not that you can't read that, but I don't know, just a preference.
Yep.
Just like tabs and spaces.
Yeah, exactly. Spaces, right?
Oh my God.
Could you imagine
Oh
the
boy.
psychopaths?
Yeah. Seriously, just tab it, man.
Just have it. Okay, so now we can finally look at the first function example that we have here, Anna. So,
Mhm.
do you want to kind of take us through this
Yeah,
with the
sure.
syntax of like a function?
Yeah, let's start off with something really simple. So like Victor said, like when you're defining a function, you're trying to write a little block of code that will evoke some kind of action, So this function, it has to be called or it has to be triggered in some way to then give you the output of that function that you're going to define. So, a very simple example could be you start off with the word function. That's a keyword in JavaScript. It's sort of like a flag that whatever comes after that is going to be, um, it will have to be executed. Like it's telling you what it's going to do. Just like I think in Java, there's methods. In JavaScript and other languages, you have functions. But you start off with a keyword function, and then my personal preference is camel case. So in this example, we have my function. So you start off with the lowercase my, and then uppercase f for the word function altogether. And then you have to open your parentheses. So usually in text editors, once you open the parentheses, there will be, a closing parentheses as well with it. So you can avoid, like a bug or whatever. But then you're going to be passing your parameters through that function. If you want to pass parameters, like the parameters would essentially be like the values that you're trying to push through that function to then give you something on the other end. So if you, in our case, we have the keyword function, my function, parentheses, and we have P1 for parameter one, and then comma, because that's how you separate them, and then P2. And then we're going to open the curly braces. And for this example, we're just going to return the product. So the multiplication result of these two parameters. So on the next line, we would write the keyword return, and then P1, the for parameter 1, times P2, and then the semicolon to close that inside of the curly braces. So that is the body of the function. So now when you call the function, which means you're essentially like tapping the function on the shoulder and be like, hey, do this. I'm going to give you two numbers. I'm going to give you parameter 1 and parameter 2, and I want you to give me the product of those two numbers. So that's basically how it works. It doesn't get more simple than that.
Beautifully put. Amazing. One quick thing I think we can add to that to just to, put everybody on the same page about this P1 and P2 thing. So these arguments, they behave locally, so they're not going to work if you're calling them from out of the function, basically. So these variables are only visible inside of this function. So, just in case you go ahead and if you're in the car, if you stop the car and get out your laptop, you're like, I'm going to make my first function, and then you try to do this, and then you try to call these local variables from outside of the function, you're going to get an error. You're going to get mad at us, but now you can't because I just told you all that. So,
right, exactly. Always remember, scope is everything when you're programming. So, yeah, that's 100% right.
Yep. And for invoking a function, there's a few different ways that can happen. So, sometimes it is based on, an event happening somewhere. So, like a click, or you even entering the page, or, it could just be triggered by anything. Another way is that it could just be called from the JavaScript code. So just calling it by the keyword that you gave it before, with the parentheses again, and optionally with the value that you want to pass through the function in those parentheses, or you could just keep it blank if it's one of those functions that you're not really calculating an exact mathematical value. It could just be an action that you want to happen. And sometimes they can just automatically happen, aka they're self-invoked, aka self-called. So those are a few different ways of how functions actually are called, or just how they occur.
Exactly. Yeah, so for the example that we gave, since we called the function my function, the way to do a simple, like if we wanted to invoke that to give us the product of two numbers, we would be writing my function, opening parentheses, and then since we have two parameters, we have to pass two arguments, because that's one thing that I learned yesterday when I was prepping these notes. There's a difference between parameters and arguments. So parameters are the actual, like the P1 and the P2 that we're passing through when defining that function. The arguments are what the values that we're actually pushing through that function. So in the case of arguments, for this particular function call, we could do my function, open parentheses, and then let's do 3, 4, and then you close the parentheses, semicolon. So when the function runs, it will give you the product of those two, which is 12. So yeah, just a little note there.
Yeah, it's such an early concept in JavaScript to know, yet somehow it can just slip through the cracks, and you're like, you hear these two things and you just assume they're the same thing. And I was guilty of it too, but it was like well after the boot camp, I was like, wait, these two are different things.
Right. Yeah. I feel like for the longest time, I've been using them interchangeably.
Exactly, yeah.
But they're not really.
No.
I think if you tell anybody, I'm sure they'll understand. But there is, sort of a difference there, because not every argument is a parameter, Or wait, is it the other way around?
Not every argument is not every parameter is an argument.
I don't know. I don't even know if we could we even define them as that, because the thing is the arguments are just the values. The parameters are the actual variables. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's probably how I would interpret it. Right.
Yep. So speaking of returning values and whatnot, I want to bring up the return statement. So as we mentioned earlier, this is what we put in the we put it in the coding block earlier to return the product of P1 and P2. So the actual keyword return, it is what ends the function execution, and it specifies a value to be returned to the function caller. So this just tells the system like, oh, okay, the function is done. Like I don't have to go through anything else within this function, like this code block. I mean, there might be other nested things going on, but that basically just tells the system like, okay, just stop calculating here, basically, and you can return the value. We're looking at a second function now, I think. Do you want to walk us through this one? This one, it looks like it involves function expressions now, I believe.
Yeah, so I think in this case, we are talking about already like assigning a variable with the value, with the return value of a function. So like the example that I had, it was essentially you assign like we have the word let, to assign that variable. Is that what you're looking at as well? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right. So we have the keyword let, to assign a variable to something. And the let means that it's a mutable variable. It's not a constant variable. So, and we go ahead and we say let, and then we can say the letter X for this purpose, for this example. And then we're assigning that, meaning we're using a one equal sign, because it's not a comparison. If you use two equal signs or three equal signs, it's a different thing. When you're assigning, it's only one equal sign. So we're going to do let X equals to my function, and then we pass the two parameters through. So in this case, we can do the 4,3 and then the semicolon. So that means that the variable X will be assigned to the return value of my function when the arguments 4 and 3 are passed through. So which would be 12. So if you want to use a variable X, further down the line, you can. Now, I think in the next example, it's pretty much the same thing. My function A and B return A times B. So it's the same thing, but it just shows how you can assign, the result of a function to a particular variable.
Which can just make your code look cleaner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't really know the pros and cons of doing function expressions versus just normal function declaration, but I find myself doing both interchangeably, and I think mainly the expressions are just, like I said earlier, like for cleaner looking code and like easily calling, the function later on, less typing, so that's good, saving time.
Right.
I'm not sure, like technically, what is the benefit of doing a function expression though, like that. But
yeah, I don't know. That's a good question too. Yeah, I'm sure that like expression, like you said, is probably something that I have definitely used before. But yeah, I don't know. Instead of like having, like a function call every time.
exactly, yeah.
It's all about like, storing that value in a variable. So like you said, it makes for cleaner code because you don't want to be calling that function over and over again. I mean, the whole concept of a function, like, you defined earlier on, is being able to reuse code, but just assigning it to something it's easier. But then again, you have to think about the fact that like for this purpose, like you're specifying the parameters that you're passing through, unless you make it even more dynamic,
Yeah, which is probably the better option for sure. This is just, for simplicity's sake.
Right.
Yeah,
of course.
I can already picture, like, let's say you're passing this function, but you want to pass it through another function. Like maybe you have a function that's like finding the square root of the product or whatever. So like you wouldn't want to say like find square root and then within there my function 4,3, like it's just stupid. So you would do probably X if you're, for this example at least, that might be the cleanest looking option, and also leads to less mistakes with syntax, because you might miss a parentheses and it looks ugly, frankly. So
Yeah,
maybe
right.
give those a shot if you're trying to impress your computer, I guess.
I know, right?
Your computer's like, damn, this runs quick.
Functions on functions. Oh man. Yeah, it's not quite recursion, but let's not get into that.
Recursion's another episode, I believe.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
geez.
save that bad boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to do that. So to kind of bring everything back around, functions just provide a lot of benefits for developers. They provide encapsulation and code reuse. It just provides better code organization as well. And, if you are really clean and good at writing your code, it's basically self-documenting code. So
Right.
that's the best, especially if you plan on somebody else looking at it. You want them to understand it just as much as you do, even though they didn't write it. That's like the ultimate goal with your code. So, leads to easier bug handling and error handling, and just makes you look really freaking cool, honestly. So
Yeah.
give it up for functions, guys. I hope you can write a function after listening to this.
I know. Yeah, seriously. Functions
Really
are
important. It's every JavaScript interview. You're going to have to do something with the function, probably. Whether that's FizzBuzz or just console logging help. So
Oh my god, yes. Can you imagine? Sorry, Mr. Hiring Manager.
yeah.
This is what I got. Oh my
Sorry,
god.
can't do it.
Yeah, right. Help me.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, if you guys are looking to do some example functions or follow throughs or whatever, I actually have a great recommendation. It's not my recommendation. I shouldn't have worded it that way. It's just some news that I found earlier this week. So, do you know who Doja Cat is, Anna?
No,
Well,
I don't.
I don't really. I know of her. Just I know she has big music and stuff or whatever. But anyway, so she released a music video for her song "Woman," which is I guess a really big song. I don't really know, but I went online and I saw this article talking about it, and they mentioned that it's an immersive digital experience that teaches viewers the basics of coding. So I did it last night with Dylan, and we were watching this music video on my computer, and it would pause at certain points and let you use it. It was all 3 different languages. I don't remember. Oh, it was okay. So it would stop and give you a JavaScript immersive sort of thing. So you could make her nails bigger and longer, or you can make the glitter more glittery or slower with JavaScript. And then there was another section where you could use CSS to color her hair a different color. And then there was a Python one too, and I'm trying to remember what it had you do. There was so many, and I could imagine somebody who's just what the hell is coding, and you like Doja Cat, go watch this music video on your computer and just follow along. It's actually pretty cool. So
That's neat. I'm gonna have to check it out. Yeah.
you should. It's in the show notes and linked down below if you want to check it out. So I thought that was crazy.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I know you. Oh, there was a funny comment. It said, "It said been trying to code a lap dance for 5 hours, not working. Please help."
I love that. Oh my god, so funny. Oh my god.
Yeah, I thought that was great. So
yeah, that is a good one.
yeah, like I said, linked below if you want to try to code a lap dance from Doja Cat. I don't know. And I think you also have some news to share about some subaquatic internet cables.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is totally different than what we were just talking about. But okay, so I was on YouTube last week or just recently, and this one video from Vox, I think, was recommended, And it really caught my attention because I think it said like subaquatic internet cables or transatlantic, internet cables. And I was like, oh, wait, what the hell? Let me go check this out. So it turns out that these cables, they're subsea or submarine cables. They're fiber optic cables that connect countries across the world via cables laid out on the ocean floor. They're often thousands of miles in length and able to transmit huge amounts of data rapidly from one point to another. And I had no idea because I was under like the impression that obviously, we have multiple continents, and I never thought that there was like a hard line of cables that transmit data from one place to the other. I thought it was all satellite based for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
And so this was like mind blowing to me, especially seeing how, they're like the big tech companies are the ones that, or like these consortiums of big tech companies, and governments. They essentially, pitch in to pay for these like hundreds of
Crazy.
millions or billions of dollars projects, to literally drop cables at the bottom of the ocean, so the data can transmit from one continent to another. And I just thought that it was so interesting. So I linked the video in my notes, and I gave it to you, so we can share it with our listeners because I just thought it was
Yeah.
really cool. I had never stopped to even think about that. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was an
It's
interesting thing
mind
to learn.
blowing. I
Right,
I can't even find the perfect outlet to plug in my vacuum to. Like, how do they even put all this together?
right.
Like, just
Seriously. Yeah, and the fact that they even said there was they have cameras under like where the cables are attached because obviously they're fixed
oh,
to the bottom of the ocean.
yeah.
They're not just like floating around hanging out there
Right.
because you need something a bit more safe. I mean, with storms and animals, and there was like even there was footage of a shark trying to eat one of the cables, and I was like, man, like, yeah, right. And those things are like massive. Like the
Mm-hmm.
diameter of each cable was just like it was almost like as wide as a tire or something crazy. It was
Oh, that's
huge.
big.
Yeah. So yeah, one thing that I wanted to share because I just learned about it. I had never even thought of it.
I'm gonna have to go watch that video. I have so many questions that I don't think you could really answer, so I'm just gonna go watch the video. Oh my
Please do.
gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's worth it. It's short, but I thought that it was very cool. And yeah, it shows, that there's also like a lot of politics around it too, because
Mm-hmm.
they say, yeah, that you have these consortiums funding the projects and everything, but if something happens, no one wants to pay for the repairs. And these are things that have to be maintained, takes a lot of money. I mean, it's not just like calling the Spectrum guy over to your house to fix your internet. This is
Right.
like you got to send a dive team to fix it or
Yeah.
probably install a new cable, and those are worth so much. So yeah, I recommend the video. It was cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I have so many questions. I'm going to go watch it right after this. So this week I'm recommending a, a Chrome extension that I use every single day for work, and might be useful to you guys too. It's called SVG Export, and I think
Ah,
I've even maybe talked about it on the show, like just in passing, but I'm like officially recommending it today. So um,
okay.
basically you can go to any website that has SVGs, or like sometimes it'll just do assets, but I think it's mostly just for SVGs. You
Hmm.
can open the extension and then it shows you all of them in a nice like gallery sort of fashion, and then you can export them from the extension in JPEG or PNG, or you can keep them as SVG, and you can
Hmm.
even do resizing before you download it, so you can crop it to the exact size that you need.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, it's just way nicer than like, I don't know. There's been so many times where like I'm like diving into the source code of this site. I'm like, where is that picture? Where is that picture? And like the extension just speeds up the process so much. So I'm recommending it in case you guys find yourself doing that a lot and you're over it. So go ahead and check it out. It's linked below.
Hmm. Cool. I have I mean probably not a school of a recommendation, but I've been talking about Linux for the longest time, probably since we started this podcast, and I came across another one again through a YouTube video of this person testing out another distribution. So this one is an Arch Linux-based distribution called Garuda, but the developers went a step ahead and customized it, and that custom Garuda distribution is called Dragonized, and it's so pretty. It is like the Dracula theme that I have used on my VS Code, that I'm using now on the Bear app, for my note taking.
Mm-hmm.
And I love like
Shout
this
out
theme
Bear.
is just for me. It's so like nice to look at. But obviously not just that, like the Dragon Eyes, they offers like a bunch of cool features, and the UI seems very nice to use. So I need to just get on board and buckle down and build like a Linux machine already, because I'm so excited to use one of these things. And now I'm so torn though, because I have been talking about Deepin for the longest time. And now this one looks really cool, so I'm leaning more towards it.
This is beautiful. Oh my
Isn't it?
God.
Yeah, you can tell that it was like so much time spent working on that. But I recommend checking it out. I even linked it to like I think the video probably came from a YouTube channel that the guy, all he does is discuss Linux distributions, which I think is really cool, because then you get to see like hands-on. He installs the distributions on his machine or on his VMs, and then he does like a full walkthrough, of the distro. So it's really cool. I recommend it.
I'm going to watch that too. Oh my God. I have a lovely evening to look forward to now. I'm gonna
There you
watch
go.
videos on internet cables and Garuda Linux.
Yeah, there you go. A nice weekend night for you.
Yeah. I just got a giraffe costume, and I'm going to like a tiny little get together for a friend's birthday, and it's animal themed, so I'm gonna be a giraffe.
Aw. Oh, that's so cool. I love giraffes. They're like one of my favorite animals.
Well, now I know my my icebreaker when I get there. Have you guys heard of Garuda Linux? And did you know there's massive cables in the ocean?
That would be like that would be an icebreaker for sure that I would use.
And Doja Cat is teaching us how to code now.
Lap dances on top of it.
Yeah.
Talk about a fun weekend.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna learn to code, it's gonna be a lap dance. I'm just letting you. For the noobs. If that doesn't entice you, I don't know what does.
I bet a lot of people who like are really into video games, but they didn't know really how to code. I bet a lot of them who wanted to get into modding, they learned how to code like through modding, and now they're like doing everything with coding.
Yeah, right. That's probably true.
Yeah. I mean, don't mod a lap dance, please. Mod anything else.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that, it's really interesting that you brought up like that music video, because it shows how, coding is so versatile. You can really use it for anything. And you can have so much fun with it. So that's why I tell, a good part of the people I know, because I think, yeah, obviously, like we do the podcast, and I have a few friends that I connected to like through school, or, the boot camp back then. But, a couple of friends that are in like different industries and things like that. I always recommend, it's not even just about doing like a full career change, like if you want to learn something, if you want to, I don't know, just make your life a little easier by learning a little Python and automating a few things here and there, then, learning a program is like the way to go, because you can become so self-sufficient. You don't have to be like a full-time software engineer to do things like that. Like anyone with a laptop now can do it. So that's one thing that I think is really cool, and I recommend to like everyone I know is like, if you're okay learning something new and you don't feel too overwhelmed, using a computer to that capacity, then give it a shot. You never know like what you're going to discover. You might, come up with a really cool idea. So
And I think like not having experience also like is kind of a gift in a way with this, just because like you're coming in with like this, how would you say it, naivety. You know, you can bring a lot of stuff to the table and to the community that, you know, some of us blinded by experience may have never thought about. So
Yeah,
you might be
exactly.
that person out there that's like, oh, I just discovered this new algorithm and blah, blah, blah. Like, who knows what it is? Or like it could be design oriented or whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of comes with other experiences that can kind of bleed into this and just create things we've never seen before. So, you know, if
Right.
it's something that interests you, you know, please like reach out or just like go on YouTube or listen to this podcast or whatever it takes for you. So,
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of resources out there for that now, so the time to go to lap dance is now.
exactly. If that's the motivation you need, fine, go ahead. I'm not going to shame you.
Right. Yep.
And if another note, if you're currently employed at like maybe a bigger sort of company, maybe like look internally at what you could also do at the company, like other jobs that might be available. And if they sort of interest you, like, you know, you might be a better fit, you know, for the company to hire internally versus them hiring some brand new dude that they don't even know. But if you're willing to like put in the time and like learn a little bit of basic stuff and, you know, just at least get an interview, like go ahead. I mean, it's really rewarding. It's a great line of work. It's usually great people in my experience. I mean, I met Anna through all this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better.
Well, on that note, guys. Did you have anything else you want to add or say or anything?
No, I don't think so. Other than, I mean, I'm sure that we're gonna come out with I think another. Well, I don't know if we're gonna come have another episode before Christmas. If we don't, Merry Christmas to all of our listeners. I can't believe that we're, the first Christmas of our first year doing the podcast. So, a big thank you to all of our, to all of you guys, all of our audience. Oh, I do have a note. Okay, get ready for this.
Oh, no.
So we just reached our all-time high downloads again on the 5th of December with 49 episode downloads in one day.
We did?
Yeah, I just saw that
What?
yesterday. So I mean, I am so humbled by that. I mean, like that is a lot of people. Hopefully all of those downloads were legit.
Holy
But
crap, guys. Thank
yeah,
you.
I know. Just like a couple days before that, I think I even messaged you and I said, "Hey, we just reached all-time high." It was like 30 something, like sometime in November, and then we beat it again. So all-time high. Yeah, December is on track to be like probably our biggest, or like I think our biggest month.
Wait, so that was one single day?
A single day, 49 downloads.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll show you the chart after.
well,
but
geez, guys. Thank you.
I know. Isn't that awesome?
What episode was it?
I don't know. I think it might have been more than one.
Ooh.
It doesn't.
Somebody's binging.
Yeah, someone is. But yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate that. And Anna appreciates it, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just looking at the calendar. This is our last episode until Christmas. So yeah, if you celebrate it, Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate it, I mean, happy whatever you're going to do. Have fun. Right. Have a good day off because I'm sure you're not going to be working. So enjoy it. As a maybe ender word, we have our Patreon. If you don't know, it's patreon.com/techheads. I think I do that every time. I think I do patreon.com. I think I do that every episode. Oh my gosh. Okay. Patreon.com/techheads. You can go there. You can, check it out, see if it's for you. You get shows like 4 or 5 days early, and you get our crazy good show notes, and you can talk to us directly. That's pretty much all there is to it for now. It's pretty new, so we're trying to figure out what else we can do to make it a little more fun. But yeah, we have a couple people on there, so you're more than welcome to join them, join the community, and talk to us and whatnot. Yeah. And And I think that's really it. Everything is going to be linked below that we talked about. So if you want to ask us any direct questions, you can also email us at techheadspod@gmail.com. And I think that's really it. Anything else?
No, I think you covered it all. Thank you, everyone. Happy
Cool.
holidays.
Happy holidays, guys. Peace.
Bye.